studied the ecological footprint? Yes. Yeah? So what did you learn from that?
Just living in America already gives you a
So just living in America makes a big footprint. What is the average American citizen's footprint? 5, about 4.5 to 5 Earths, right? So what does it really mean? So one of the things that we're going to do today here is look at what does it really mean? What does it mean when it takes 5 Earths to support an average American citizen? So I need some volunteers. Oops. Okay, you want to play, huh? Okay. Get a card. Pick a card, any card. He's not picking the one on top. Okay, who else wants to pick a card? Who wants to play? You get to play for free. Well, no charge. Someone else? I'm sorry, David. I saw him first. All right, okay. Now, who has the king card? Who's the king? Woohoo! All right, we have a winner. The winner has a king card. Okay. So the winner gets. Count it, everybody.
3, 4.
Okay, so who else has a card? You got a card, sorry. Who else has a card? You have a card? Okay, sorry. You have a card. And you have a card. Okay. All right, so what just happened here? There were how many total people playing the game? 5. And how many winners were there? 1. And how many lemons did she get? 4. And the rest of the people got? A quarter. So talk to each other. Tell me, what does that mean? What do you get out of this? Talk to each other for a second. No yarning. Don't yarn under camera. There are chairs in the back, so just scoot in. Get a couple more chairs. Yeah. Unpack those chairs. Yeah. You guys, we can sit 4 people in a row. Do you mind you guys scoot in a little bit so they can put another person in? Do you mind scoot in a little so we can put another person in? Scoot in and we put another person in, please. Come on up here.
All the way down.
There's a spot here. Joe, come on up here. Scoot in a little bit, just go around that box. Move that box in the back. Or, yeah. Scoot in. So maybe we can start unpacking some of the, okay, we'll just wait till somebody else comes. Scoot in a little bit so he's not sticking out. Can you, Antoinette, yeah. Scoot in a little bit so give him some space. Okay. Cool. All right, guys. So what did you get out of that?
One person benefits excessively that is not enough for everybody else.
All right, good job. Okay. When one person gets a lot, when there's one winner, a big winner, there's got to be a lot of losers. And what does it mean to be a loser in this case? Means you starve, okay? So this is actually another way to say, now notice there are 5 people playing, right? So if you make it into percentages, you multiply it by 2 to make 100%, yes? So one person would be how many percent of the population? 1 person would be how many percent? 20% would be 20% of the population. So 20% of the population, Marissa represents 20% of the population in the world, and she's consuming how many percent of the resources? All right, good job. All right, good for you. You guys do math, all right. So, and the rest remaining, how many percent of the population? 80% of the population gets to how many percent of the resources? 20%. Right. So 20% consumes over 80%. The remaining 80% only gets to consume less than 20% of the resources. So what? What else did you get from this? It's unjust. Who cares about justice? Okay, it's unjust, one thing. What else?
If she gave some lemons away, we would all have a bowl.
Hey, come on, Marissa, give some lemons away. Okay, the king. What else? She has control. Good for you. So who is it up to make a difference? You're the one who has total control. Good job. So who can be the ones making a difference? Good job. The 20% of the population. And which ones are you?
20%.
You are the 20%. Very good. Thank you so much. Someone is at the door. Let them in. Very, very good. That's a very good observation. Thank you very much. And absolutely. Scoot a chair in here. Take a chair in here and scoot in room. So that's a very good point, Antoinette. So the 20% who is holding the 80% resources are the ones who can make a difference. Very good. What else did you get from it? So it is unjust. In order for us to have a big winner, we have to have lots of losers. And that is up to the 20% who have the resources to make a difference. Come on up here. So what else do you get from this? Yes?
That the person that has the most doesn't need all of it, and the rest of us need more.
Okay, thank you. All right. So why do you need all those lemons in the first place, right? Okay, so what else? Now, yes?
There's a finite number of resources, so when one person has more, there's not extra to go around.
Good job, good job. You can't get around it. You can't say, well, why can't we all just be happy and get along? We can all have 8 lemons. That doesn't work that way, right? It cannot work that way because there's a physical limitation. Very good. What else? See, I always learn something when I ask people what they get from it. Like, that's a very, very good point, right? What else? Yes?
Here's the reality of what's going on in this world. You have 4 lemons. You keep 1 for yourself, 1 to sell, 1 to grow more lemons, and 1 to donate, so you're the good guy.
Oh, I like that. Okay, there's a businessman in Juan. Okay. Well, comments on that?
That doesn't happen.
Number 1, that doesn't happen. Good for you. What else? What else is a problem with that?
It's profit oriented. Or, I mean, the reality is actually keep 1 for yourself and sell the rest for a higher price. Or, I mean, yeah.
Okay, if for someone to buy that one for you, what do they need? They need to have resources, right? Money is only a representation of some resources in the world. It doesn't happen by itself, right? It actually reflects something in the real world. So people say, oh, the economy is crashing. Money doesn't mean anything anymore. Duh, the world is falling apart. Surprise, right? They actually represent something in the real world. So if everybody is holding a quarter, how are they going to buy this? Sell themselves. In fact, that's what we do. There's a lot of slavery that's actually going on in this world. We'll be talking about that in future classes. But absolutely, they are selling themselves, and not because they want to. Okay. So what else?
I think too the idea of donations or charity from like a corporate interest is just such a joke because, like for instance, Microsoft or the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation he built this empire on like mining resources from the Congo to make computer chips that go into his computer that cause mass deforestation, and then they're shipping all the electronic waste to China, which is literally like killing people and destroying their quality of life. But then he can donate like $100 million to create like cheap computers for kids in Africa or something, which is just further perpetuating that. But then we only look at the charitable thing rather than at all the damage that the real corporation has caused.
Maybe because he stole this lemon from another country.
Right.
And now claims it as his own.
Thank you. That's a really good point. So when that person with that four lemons, even when she gives 1 away, That is diverting attention, like Antoinette said, right? Diverting attention from they're stealing all this. I'll give you one. I'm so good, right? So, and that's sort of like absolutely very good point. And that is a reality that we actually see today, right? Okay, so one more thing. The last piece is, did you actually get to choose be the yo to the loser? Did you?
No, you got the cards that you're dealt with.
Good job. You got the cards you're dealt with. It's completely random. You didn't earn it. She didn't earn the 4 lemons, and the rest of you didn't earn the quarter. You didn't earn your riches, and the others did not earn their suffering. Right? Another piece to take home. So we're going to keep going with the ecological footprint. So some of the things you remember when we looked at the calculator, right? What were some of the things that were being calculated from that footprint, right? What were they? The 2 big pieces, one very big piece.
How much we travel?
Because that's really, good job, that's related to the consumption of energy. Good job, there's a big piece of energy. Now, I'm going to ask you a trick question. What is the energy that you use? For the most part, what is the source of energy that we use? Fossil fuels, good. Good job. Remember, this is a trick question. So, I apologize. I tricked you. This is what I expect to hear, right? So really, ultimately, over 90% of the energy that keeps us alive that we consume actually comes from the sun. And we're able to do that because of plants and photosynthesis. Okay, so boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, I have a story to share with you today. Long time ago, 4.65 billion years ago, a whole solar system was born. And a very small part of that solar system is the planet Earth. All right, it's the planet Earth. The solar system is part of the Milky Way, right? So it was planet Earth. And planet Earth was very different back in those days. How the planet formed was a bunch of random rocks like clung together. And then at some point very early in its history, a very big meteorite, almost half the size of Earth, ran into Earth really hard. And if I really actually ran into Irela, what would happen to her face? It would get really red and hot because I have produced what? And good job, I produced what type of energy? I don't know. Well, so this movement, mechanical energy, upon impact, gets changed into heat. Good job, heat energy. So that heat energy actually almost melted the entire Earth and made the Earth rearrange itself. Because now it's molten, it's actually mobile, so it arranges itself based on gravity. So the more dense material goes to the bottom, and the less dense goes to the top. Which is the less dense?
Air.
Good job. So it was, who said what? What? Did Sarah, no? You said crust? Who said that? All right, good job. So the crust is actually much less dense than the core. The crust is the rock, and then less dense than the rock would be the water, and then would be the air. So it's our atmosphere, right? So rearrange itself, and so we end up having an atmosphere on the top. And that air was very different. If you're around then, you're not going to last for a second. Why?
No. Hydrogen.
No, carbon dioxide.
Well, actually, because the air, you guys said nitrogen, and sort of like if you talk about the crust, if you look at the first 20 miles of the crust, from the 20 miles down all the way up, oxygen is the most abundant element. In other words, rocks are mostly made of oxygen. But don't take a rock and suck on it when you want air. It doesn't work out. Okay. But problem with that is oxygen doesn't like to be alone. Oxygen loves to be married. And it just wants to link up with everything around. So there was lots and lots of oxygen around, but there was no free oxygen in the atmosphere. Just like in the rocks, the oxygen abound with other elements to form rocks, to form oxides, to form water, H2O, to form carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, 1 carbon and 2 oxygen. And there was no free oxygen. So you and I would not be able to live on the planet then. Then somewhere along the line, some very, very smart little bugger invented fire. What? I love that. Okay. Good job. I love it. We just have fun in our class, yeah? So somebody invented, what do we depend on? How do we get the energy from the sun? All right, some little bugger invented photosynthesis. And what that means is that this little creature learned a really smart little trick. And what it does is take CO2 from the atmosphere and rip the carbon away and throw away the oxygen into the atmosphere. And what does it do with this?
Eat it.
It becomes it. Good for you. And that it becomes it. So that little bugger makes its own body with carbon. And use that carbon, that whole process also creates energy. And then that stuff is so good that other creature comes along to eat it, right? And build more complex creatures. And a lot of the creature, when they die, what happens to this? It gets buried into the ground, like you said. All right, very good. It gets buried in the ground. Okay, stay here. Who has a blanket? I forgot my jacket. Who has the jacket? Can I borrow a jacket to bury this? Oh, very great. Thank you. Let's bury this guy in the ground. Okay, and it buries it. Now, how old do we say the Earth is? 4.65 billion years old. Now, how many of you, when was the last time you actually took out the $1 billion you have in your mattress and counted it? It's been a while. What is my point? My point here is what? It's a very large number. And do you actually relate to that number? Do you know what it really means outside the fact that it's really large? Do you know it would take you years to count up? If you count one number per second and you do that 24/7 without going to the bathroom or eating, it would take you years to count up to that number, to 1 billion? Do you know that? If you were to count up to the age of the Earth, it would take you over 100 years. Not eating or pooping. To count up to that number. Now, so what I've done in order to help you to relate to that number is I created the Earth's history in my hands, and each centimeter on this string, how big is a centimeter? 1 centimeter is less than half an inch, yeah? So how many centimeters am I holding between my fingers?
100.
Centimeters. Less than 1 centimeters, yeah? Each centimeter on this string represents 1 million years. So I'm holding between my fingers how many years? 1 million years. How many years I'm holding in my fist? 5, probably 7 or 8, up to 10 million years, yeah? So this is the sense of time. So how many years have we gone by? Quite a few. And Amos, raise your little string over there. What do you see? String. You see what? Green. You see green. What do you think that represents? Life. That represented photosynthesis. So it took over 1 billion years went by. So all that is over 1 billion years before photosynthesis began. Now, do we have oxygen now in the air? No, why not? Because oxygen what? Likes to, likes to get married. So even though we were making oxygen, the oxygen was continually binding with other elements, and still we had no free oxygen in the atmosphere. And this continues for how long? This continues and continues for millions and millions and millions. And over 1 billion years, that finally free oxygen begins to appear in the atmosphere. Finally. But do we have enough to breathe? No. So it keeps making, all these plants keeps making more and more oxygen by ripping carbon away and building life with that carbon. And it keeps doing it again and again for millions and millions and millions of years. Ooh, it just keeps doing that. They work so hard. And then it was making such a really good, okay. Woo! What do you think happened here?
Life.
What kind of life? What happened here is finally the atmosphere has accumulated enough oxygen that is able to sustain life like you and me. And that was merely about 570 million years ago. And so creatures, complicated creatures, we thought there was no life before then because they're all tiny little, microscopic stuff, and we thought there was no life. So we only realized recently that life began long, long ago. It's just the conditions were so different, so the kind of life it could support is very, very different until then, 550 million years ago. Right? So we started making more and more complicated sugar. The sugar was getting so good. Fish comes along and eat it. Rabbits comes along and eat it. And we come along and eat everything else. Okay? So, and when did we come along?
There.
This is when we came along. And what have we done since we came along?
Everything.
We eat everything, and then what? We pollute it, and what else do we do? What? All right, good job, Junior. So we come along, we started digging. We started taking all this earth away. We started digging and digging and dig out the carbon. And we do what?
Release it back.
When we dig out the carbon, what do we do with it?
Burn it.
We burn it, which means what?
Use it for fuel.
Which means what?
Put it back in the atmosphere.
Which means what? It means it reunites it with the oxygen and make carbon dioxide. So those oxygen are no longer available for you and me. Talk to each other. What did you get out of this? Okay, guys, so who wants to share? What did you get out of that? Yes, Nolan?
We discovered that life will continue on Earth even if humans don't. It came before us, it will be after us, so even if we release all the carbon back into the atmosphere, things will survive, we just won't.
Very good, very good. So we're not taking the Earth down or taking life away. Not at all. We're not that powerful. All we're doing is just killing ourselves, right? Okay, thank you. What else? Yes?
I'd like to know how the heck are we doing all this a lot faster than nature is?
How are we doing this?
How are we doing all this ridiculously faster than nature's pace?
Thank you, thank you. So Thomas' question is, how are we doing this? How is it that we're doing it so fast? How are we doing it so fast? Tell me. Technology, yeah, expressed as driven by greed. But how are we, civilization as it stands now, how are we doing it? Let's be a little more specific. How exactly are we doing it?
By consuming more than we need.
By consuming what we need, we did earlier, right? And that's what it means. That's what we're trying to do. Figure out what it means when we have a footprint of more than 4 Earths, right? And this is what it means. And okay, hey, let's get more specific. Cars. We do it by driving. We do it by burning the lights in the daytime. We're doing by well, I don't know about breathing because we've been breathing for a long time. We actually do put so that's another piece of it. We're doing it so fast. If we do it by breathing, we'll not do it so fast, right? We do it so fast by the keys and technology that allows to us to dig everything out so fast and we burn it all at once. We want it all. Right? So that was one piece, is energy. So what else do you get from this? So the consumption of energy. So what it really means, so you may be the winner, but are you really the winner?
No.
Is there any winner in this story?
No.
There's no winner in this story. There's no winner at all. They are winning and they're coming back like crazy. So the ocean is actually devolving, as people say. So life evolution has become more and more complex over time. Now it's going back to the lower life forms. So the ocean has been devolving, and we're seeing lots and lots of jellyfish. So get used to the taste of jellyfish. So what else? Yes?
We also talked about how the process that took 4.5 billion years to kind of figure everything out, we've sort of deconstructed in like 30 years. And just the fact that this delicate balance took so long, our rate at which we consume is indicative of the fact that we're not doing it right.
Okay.
Comparatively.
So Alex is saying that if you look at how long it took for us to figure things out to get to where it is, and the speed that we're reversing, like Thomas, so quickly, it's in itself be an indication that something is not right, right? This is not going to be good, right? Okay, very good. Anything else? Now, all of that, I'm not just telling you a story. All of that is actually written in the Book of Rocks. And in my hand, I'm holding this rock that is 2.5 billion years old. That is when free oxygen first begin to appear in the atmosphere. And we know that because we see that they begin to oxidize. Remember when they first come into the atmosphere, they still want to grab onto everybody else. So they were actually combining with iron and making the iron formation. And that is the source of our iron today. That formed 2.5 billion years ago. When that is gone, that is gone. So there's many, many pieces of the story. Right? The next piece of the story, so the most important piece is energy. We talked about energy. And the next important piece is, in terms of consumption, or breaking it down from energy, what is the next thing that's really important in supporting life?
Water.
What? Water, good job. And we also talked about water in terms of virtual water. Yeah? Everybody remembers that? And I need someone to drive this for me. So here's another picture that shows you that I'm not just telling you a story. The story is actually backed by facts in the real world. So we have physical evidence when photosynthesis began. Okay. Next one, please. And here's a better picture of what we call the iron formation that shows us that what was happening in the atmosphere. So we can measure the atmosphere by really looking at what's in the rocks. Next one. So we see that we're having a real problem with water, a worldwide crisis, a water shortage. Next one, please. So this is actually one of the, if you go back just one slide, sorry. This is actually the major river from Australia, and Australia, and this is what it looks like now. So all major rivers worldwide are running dry. And what does it mean when we say a river is running dry? It no longer makes it to the ocean. Very good. And that has lots and lots of consequences that we talked about, right? Okay, next one. And so to really understand that is have to understand the concept of virtual water, and we've sort of worked on that. And most people don't know. Most people know the population went crazy. Most people don't know is that the consumption of water actually increased twice as fast as population. Next one. So there are different ways of assessing water footprint. We looked at water footprint earlier, and what it means by virtual water is basically you look at all the water that it needs in order to produce what you use. And also in the process, a lot of water is polluted. And so we also look at that, how much water is being polluted. So once it's polluted, it's no longer available for people to use. Right? So next one. So here's a flow chart that sort of like explains how like making a shirt when you have a shirt, you don't think about all of this. But it's all these processes that it takes to make that shirt, and every single step requires what? Water. All right, good job. Next one, please. So, and gray water footprint is when you pollute the water, the process to produce what you use actually contaminates the water and makes it not usable. Next one, please. So here are some examples of virtual water. So because most of us don't relate, the blue color represents liters, but because we don't relate to liters, so I calculated it, translated into gallons. So the black numbers are number of gallons of water. It takes to make 1 glass of milk. It takes 9 gallons of water to make 1 cup of tea. Next one, please. And it takes over 1,000 gallons of water to make you 1 slice of. This is only. How big do you think is 30 grams? 300 grams. Really, really. A gram is really tiny, right? Next one, please. So even if you are a vegetarian consume cheese. A lot of them consume a lot of cheese. It also takes a lot of water. Next one, please. Now this is, I've ruined a lot of people's lives with this. There's only 100 grams of chocolate, tiny little square. And why do you think that is? Because in that piece of chocolate, there's also what? Milk and all, sugar, right? All that, right? So huge water footprint for a piece of chocolate. Next one, please. Sugar, actually, 3.4% of the world's water goes to growing sugar cane. So sugar is huge, huge water footprint. Next one. So there's no such thing as a no impact man. If you want to be a person who lives in this world, have no impact on this earth, you need to commit suicide today. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. The minute we started making fire, we're having an impact on this world. So we're not saying no impact. We're saying what? Low. Minimal impact. How do you do it in such a way that would what? That would actually make it possible for us to survive, for our species to survive, right? Next one, please. Don't wear shoes. It's a pair of leather shoes, yes. Next one, please.
Shower with a friend.
Be eco-friendly. A brand new pickup line, huh, Joe? Let's save the world together. Okay, sorry. Next one, please. Who's wearing a pair of jeans? Tommy. Next one, please. So even piece of paper, a single sheet of paper we're talking about, right? And next, please. And if you look at the world, this is a distribution of world's water footprint. And obviously the greens are better and the red is not so hot. So where do we sit? We win. We're a 4-lemon country. Okay, next one, please. And so world, globally, our nation leads the world. And if you look in our country, our state leads the world, leads the state, leads the country. Since the country leads the world, so if the state leads the country, then we are leading the world, aren't we? All right. Next one, please. So we win again. So that was total withdrawal. Here's domestic withdrawal. Next one, please. So while this comes no surprise then that our local rivers are also running dry, right? So this is Hoover Dam. This story, again, is etched in stone. How is it etched in stone? You can see the rocks are different in color, yeah? And that is over 100 feet in less than 10 years. You can actually go online and see this number, like they update it like every day, and it's really scary. You just keep it dropping down like crazy. So this is less than 10 years, over 100 feet. Prediction is that there's a chance that it will be completely dry by 2014. So we're not talking about your grandchildren. We're talking about you. Next one, please. Now, as we talked about earlier, most of the world's water is in the ocean, well, it's on the ground, therefore not very useful to us. And with all the stuff melting, it's actually more going to be water in the ocean, not useful to us. And we've looked at how most of the fresh water, like Andrea said, is in the ground, right? And that really represents a very small fraction of the total amount of water. And who remembers why is it that we have more fresh water in the ground than in all the lakes and the rivers?
Billions of years to get it there.
Well, maybe not billions, but long time, right? So this is accumulated a long period of time. Some of the water we use right now are hundreds of thousands, million years old. Yeah. Thank you. Next one, please. So here is a map that shows, so remember when we talked about how you take out the water in the ground, you leave behind empty space. If you take it out too fast, it's not being replenished. The ground, that's what? Caves in, right? We call that subsidence. And that is a serious problem, not only just in our country, but worldwide. So worldwide, we're having a problem with overpumping groundwater. And then you can see that's pretty well scattered throughout our country. And once again, we win, California wins. We again lead the country in the amount of water we pump out of the ground. We're awesome, yes. So if you worldwide, you look, most of the water we use are used in agriculture. Next one, please. So that is again reflected in California. So we take a lot of water out for livestock. And next one, please. And irrigation. Once again, we lead the country. Now, this is actually a research done by the New York Times. What they did is they went around the world and they took pictures of families. What you're seeing in front of you is the food they ate for that entire week. Right? So these are two families from the US. So I want you to take a very close look at this. Two families from the US. This is the food they ate for that week. Next one. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate all these three slides back, and you should keep getting to see that. So this is Italy and Mexico. And the next slide, please. So I want you to just go through those three slides over and over again. Just run them, like give them a few seconds in between, okay? So go backwards and then go forwards. So talk to each other. What did you get out of this? What is that saying to you? So like Micah, please share with me what you shared with me.
I noticed that Chad and Maui, they didn't have a lot of like liquid, like water and stuff to drink versus these other.
So what you're not seeing is that bottled water or some kind of beverages, right, in their what they consume, right? Thank you very much for bringing that out. But what is also interesting about that?
Their food doesn't have.
Now just stick with that water for a minute. Yes.
In Mexico and Italy, you can see more big bottles of water, but in America, there were very little, if not at all. Like it was just Coke and.
They drink soda, right? Yeah.
Well, I think if a family of 4, or in the other case, like 8, is capable of living off that small amount of water, it just shows we drink a tremendous excess of liquids.
Good job. We're drinking a lot. Other piece is that in America, we have excellent supply of drinking tap water, yeah? in Chad, do they have really good tap water supply? And yet they're not buying bottled water. We are buying bottled water. Think about that. Does that make sense? Does it make sense that we have good tap water and we're spending money on bottled water?
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. So thank you for pointing that out. Really good. Thank you. What else? What else? What are you getting out of this? Yes?
We, in our discussion over here, we noticed that in, like, I guess the first world countries, whatever, like America, everything comes in a package. Like, everything is packaged in some sort of, like, plastic and then cardboard with a logo and all of that, which also means that it's coming with preservatives too, because the food is supposed to last for a long time for some reason. We don't want to go to the market that often, whereas like other foods are fresher, and so clearly they're okay with going to the market every day or every other day.
Thank you. That's a really important point, because each time you're seeing packaging and processing, you're also seeing what?
Transportation.
You're seeing transportation. You're also seeing the consumption of water and fuel and energy and other resources as well, right? So you're seeing that. And that is another way how our footprint is so big, right? So it's not so much that we're eating more volume, it's how we're eating it, right? And like Nolan pointed out, in fact, that way we're eating is actually not good for us, not healthy. Thank you for waiting. Come.
Tommy, could you go to the last one, please? In Chad and Mali, I noticed that they're eating like a lot of like rice and beans and things like that. They don't really have much water that they're consuming, but a lot of this food takes water to even make.
To cook it, yes. So this is what I'm saying, that they're not, it's not that that's all the water they're using, but they're just not using bottled water like we do. And obviously everybody else is not showing what we're using from the tap, right? So the point is, they don't have good drinking water, and they're not buying bottled water. They can't afford it, right? So they're using a lot, and eating a lot of rice and beans, and like some of you point out, they're actually healthier. So this is why I have a lot of problem when people come to me and say, I can't afford to eat healthy. It's like, oh, please, don't give me this, you know? That's just nonsense. Okay, thank you for waiting. Over.
Kids have cabinets and kitchens, small kitchens, and people don't have a kitchen. They have firewood right there. They live in tents.
Thank you for bringing that out. So it's a whole package. It's not only what they eat. So their footprint is much, much smaller because they don't have big houses, they don't equipment, big kitchen and all that, right? So thank you. So yes, David.
In America, there was like less people that consume a lot more, and then this was like more people that consume a lot more.
Good, very good observation. Huge. And one of the things that makes it look like so much is all the packaging also, right? Very, very good. Thank you. Yes, Artur.
Oh yeah, that right here in Chad and Mali, their food is like, I guess, local compared to other.
Very, very good. This is very clearly local, right? Clearly didn't ship from someplace else. Again, that's a reduction again in consumption of energy and water, because every time you use energy, you are also using water. Good job. Yes, Jamie, thank you for waiting.
The amount of sweets and like sugar-based things in the American household, as even compared to Italy and Mexico, because Italy and Mexico they have a lot of carbs and stuff, but not like sweets. There's no candies. There's no like breads or cereals or anything like that. It's just fruit.
Very, very good observation. Very, absolutely. And just to underline that, remember we talked about growing sugarcane actually uses 3.4% of the world's water, right? So that again is why our footprint is so huge. And is that actually good for us? No. Thank you. Yes, Maritza?
And the meat. There's a lot of meats in the American families, and to the cows and the chicken feed, it's a huge production in the United States that takes up a lot of water.
Very good. So the higher you eat up on the food chain, the bigger the footprint. Okay, thank you. Now I want to share with you the next few slides, and I want you to look very carefully and tell me what you see. Next one, please. Next one. Yeah. I want you to look very carefully. What are you seeing? So biocapacity is the country's ability, the land's ability to support us, right? right? So it's decreasing, and our consumption is increasing. And is this a way that we can keep up? No, why not? Because we are actually consuming at above the land is able to support us, yeah? Okay, next one, please. They're catching up. So, I want to be suicidal too. Okay, so next one, please.
So does that mean we're taking their land if their biocapacity is going down?
You think about it. When people think about environmental problems, or that we know that one of the things they would say is because there are too many people. I mean, look at people in Africa. They're starving because there's too many of them. Is this picture telling you they're starving because there's too many of them?
No. It's telling us that their land is being destroyed by something.
Destroyed by something. You know, some interesting facts. One of the oldest human skull is found in Chad. Lake Chad is disappearing, right? So you talk about global water crisis. Chad is suffering severely from water crisis. Lake Chad, if you go online, you'll see the Lake Chad has been shrinking like crazy over the past 2 decades. And you saw that they're not consuming bottled water. They're not consuming a lot of water. One of their exports is cattle. So what is that telling you?
So they're overgrazing their land.
Huh?
All their resources are going into feeding cows.
And it's going where? Going to some. So every time you export a cow, what are you also exporting? Water and grain and their resources, right? Their biocapacity.
So it's
right?
like the water that they really don't have is going to cows, which is going to us, which means they get nothing again.
Good job. Well said, Mia. So the water they don't have is actually going into the cows, which is going to us. Right? What this is also doing is actually destroying their land. It's actually making their land less and less productive and becoming, the biocapacity is going down. Right? And they're turning into a semi-desert into a desert. When we talk about soil, we'll actually talk about desertification, how these processes makes productive land or semi-productive land into non-productive at all. Next one, please. So this is what I call the environmental space-time continuum. What we are doing literally is we're literally traveling across space. We're going to other countries to grow our food. We're literally taking up space somewhere else. Chad is only one example. It could be peanuts. It could be pineapple from the Philippines. It's happening all over the world. And by using up our groundwater resources, we are literally traveling across time to take the water resources from future generations. Next slide, please. You might say, who cares, right? I'm the winner. I'm the one with the 4 lemons. Who cares about future generations and the people across the world? Well, it just happened that our way of life is actually killing us. Next one, please. So I want you to notice this is from the Center of Disease Control, from the Health Department. So this is very, very conservative information. I'm not taking this from some wild environmentalist. So I want you to notice, what is the best color? Blue. Light blue. What was the bad color? Red. Okay, so I want you to click through the next slides rather quickly. No, not that. Okay, go. Go. for 2009. So you can see it's still going up. It's continuing to go up. And obesity has been linked with heart disease and cancer. Like that I didn't know. With heart disease and diabetes and cancer. So next one, please. So this is unfortunately becoming a global trend. So it's not just here in the US. And of course we win. We're in the reddest box. Yoo-hoo. Next one, please. Now that is actually really complicated why that's happening. It's really actually really interesting. Most people really sort of feel like victimized. And in a way it is. What I have learned in my own research is actually obesity is really linked to not just what a person does, him or herself. It has to do with farm subsidies. It has to do with how we raise food. It has to do with how we, what is in our food. So it's really actually a very complicated issue, and that we'll have another discussion on another day. Next one, please. Remember when the Earth was flat? Wasn't that long ago, actually? How many of you were around? Next one, please. Now, today we understand that we are part of a solar system, which is part of a galaxy, which is a part of a universe, yeah? And we understand that we have a whole big universe filled with black holes. Imagine that. Now, if we continue to believe the Earth is flat, could we have ever envisioned such a world? No. It's as if just our view of the Earth being flat was like a lid on our imagination that limits us, and we could not even see the reality for what it is. Simple view of the world, simple belief that the world, the framing of the world being flat, puts us keep in that box. Next one, please. We are actually at the verge of another huge jump, because now we understand from the world of quantum mechanics, there are lots of weird aspects of quantum mechanics. One weird aspect of quantum mechanics is that actually a single electron can be in multiple places. And what collapses it into a single location is an act of observation. So by looking for the electron in that spot, that electron will show up there for you. That's called the observer effect. Imagine that. Feinstein next door used to say, if you think you understand quantum mechanics, you don't get it at all. That's how counterintuitive it is, all that we are learning from quantum mechanics. Next one, please. Another new world is a new world of neuroscience. We understand that both brains, that left and right brain, have very, very different functions. Right? We watched that video last week. And unfortunately, if you look at these two sides of the brain, which side of the brain does the society value? Left side. Very much one-sided, yeah? And we also now have evidence to show that the reality of the world is completely different depending on which side of your brain that you experience the world through. If you are able to experience the world through your right brain, the boundary between you and the environment disappears. Next one, please. We have known for a really long time, we understand that matter is made of what? Atoms. Atoms are made of electrons and neutrons and protons. Most of the mass, the majority of the mass is in what? In the nucleus. And swimming around the nucleus in huge space by comparison to the atom is what? Electrons. Electrons is nothing but really energy. So we understand that everything is mostly what? Energy. And if you're able to experience the world through your right brain, you get to experience that. Can you put a clear boundary between energy? So if you are able to experience the reality that everything is primary energy, the boundary between me and you disappears. the boundary between you and the rest of the room disappears. You, in fact, become part of one. Next one, please. Now, we've been talking about a lot of problems. Right? We could come to a situation, the problem situation, and you say, oh my God, this is so terrible, I'm just going to lie down and die. Or you can actually
Take action. Innovate.
The crisis in Chinese are two words. Crisis are two words in Chinese that says that's danger and opportunity. So a crisis is actually an opportunity in a package of danger. Danger gives us an opportunity to do something very different, to do something greater than we have ever done before. Next one. This picture embodies the American dream. Unfortunately, we're seeing all kinds of signs. The earth is sending us messages that this American dream has a lot of unintended consequences. Nobody meant to do any harm, right? But now we're learning there are problems with that dream. And we as a nation have been a leader. We see this, right? We're leading the world in everything we do, right? You know, all the stuff, you know, the consumption of all of it. We're leading the world. And so that actually puts us in a very unique position. As we started earlier, Antoinette said, you know, it's the people who are holding the four lemons has a chance to do something, right? So we have the opportunity to be the leader, and now we lead them into a new dream. This dream has turning out to be a nightmare. We can, and we are in a position to lead others, to lead the world into a new dream. A dream that takes into consideration the environment, that's not one size fits all, and a dream that takes in consideration your neighbors, be it next door or across the world, and a dream that incorporates both sides of who we are, that actually can really look at bigger where we are now. A dream that allows us to realize our own full potential. So we can actually be in harmony within ourselves and with our neighbors and with our environment. Take this as a great invitation. Take this as a great opportunity. Thank you all for your attention. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody wants to make some comments and reflections? What they want to say? Anybody? Yes, Jamie?
I think that if each one of us told somebody else outside of this room about one of the things that we learned today, then that would make a difference.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. The most important piece is if we actually take action, right? What's the point of knowing things if you don't take action, right? So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, Stephen. What? You like the what? Okay, all right, so get there, Stephen. What we really need is integration, right? You're not going to get very far if you keep hopping on one side, right? So you need both sides of who you are, yes?
You were talking about like the American dream and stuff, and I don't know, like I think it's kind of clear that the American dream is really unattainable because of it's the way that we're processed to think, and it's like this lie that we just keep following and hoping that it's actually going to come true. And so once that, I think if people start realizing that, you know, this dream is not attainable and stuff, and that we need to look at a new direction, then therefore maybe we can get some progress. And so I think that like we just need to like rethink our...
I love that, Mira. I never really quite frame it that way, so I really appreciate it. So what Mira is saying is that to people we're going for this American dream, what they don't realize is it's not something that can really happen, right? In a way, the unfortunate thing is it looks like it could, right? You got lots of people living this life. It seems like, wow, see, they have achieved.
It's normal, and it seems like it's something that you just have to get to. It's like, that really doesn't work, you know?
It really doesn't work because it's actually doing what to you right now? It's actually doing you harm. Not just that it's doing harm to other people and doing to other places in the world, but it's doing harm to you right now. And thank you very much. And this is something that we're trying to get people to understand, right? This is actually doing harm to you right now, right? Thank you.
It's someone else's dream. It's a dream that was created hundreds of years ago that absolutely you can't match in these times.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reminding me that. It is someone else's dream who decided that it should look that way, or someone else's dream. So that is the big piece, is for each one of us to really ask ourselves, right? What is my dream, right? Why am I going after this? What is my dream? What is meaningful to me? What makes my life meaningful? Thank you so much for bringing that up. Absolutely. And so if you look at how our society is, you know, it's all advertising, right? The dream is not your dream. That's the biggest piece. We think it's our dream, but it really isn't, right? So in a way, it's almost like, you know, this is a whole big scam going on here, and you're just a sucker buying into the scam, right? It's another way of framing it, right? Thank you. Someone else had a hand up? Mauricio?
I climbed yesterday. I had some pretty good philosophical moments. And I was just thinking about, I was just sitting up there, and it was just really beautiful. And I was thinking about how to like show people how important it is to, you know, see it all as a whole. And I was thinking about awareness. And the definition I came up with was, it's an understanding of what we are and how we came to be, but also how we can become better and progress. And I think if people really look at, like, examine our lives and see what we can do to make them better, it would be better not just for us, but for everything, because we are everything.
Thank you so much. So thank you for bringing that. Another piece up is our connection with nature. Right? You're having all these moments, you climb a mountain, because you are actually in nature, connecting with nature. Unfortunately, most of our life experience is separated from nature. So being connected with nature really reminds you, being out in nature reminds you your connection to nature and to everyone else. Right? So thank you, that's a really important piece of it.
Yeah, where I went, it was up in Burbank, but you could see Los Angeles and all of San Fernando Valley. And so when I was looking at the city, I was like, wow, human ingenious, blah, blah, blah. But then like I looked up at the sky and just like the clouds and the sun is, it just way overpowered. You know, we're so minuscule.
You're absolutely right. The problem is we only spend the time in our city. We get so in love with our own, inventions. We forget that the majesty of nature. Yeah, thank you so much.
I was also thinking, looking at the cities and stuff. Us as humans, we have this kind of this never-ending desire to make things beautiful. Be it painting or construction. That's why we have huge castles and sculptures, because we're trying to reach perfection in a sense. But it's all like based on, I think, in creativity is just how we're trying to get in touch with like the perfection that is nature and the universe and everything. We can only grasp a small piece of it.
Definitely, the scale of it is so different, right? So we're trying to recreate something. We want to be able to create and express itself and create beauty, but it's important not to lose sight that the scale of things in our relationship to nature. So thank you for bringing that up. Somebody had a hand somewhere? No? Anybody else? No? All right, thank you.